Welcome back to Simon Phillips TCM. This week's episode is all about trying to solve the problem that everybody says there's no such thing as a job for life anymore. How are we going to crack that one? Well, we're going to do it by upskilling and in the process generating multiple streams of income. Sounds like fun, doesn't it? Let's get started. So when I was a youngster, I saw Roger Moore acting, and for those of you who love spitting image, you'll realise that the Roger Moore school of acting was literally just to raise your eyebrow and keep everything at the same monotone level when it came to talking. But I thought maybe if I learned how to do both eyebrows, I might actually be able to make some money out of it and be a famous movie star myself. So I sat in front of the mirror and for hours I would practice, and eventually I got to being able to use both eyebrows just like that. So that was me as a 7-year-old trying to work out in my mind, how can I upskill and become someone who's massively valuable to the world? I soon realised that being able to move both eyebrows didn't actually generate a lot of money for me. So I've been saving it for this special YouTube edition. Okay, let's get into it and start with understanding what upskilling is. I've always thought of it as one of two things. It's either building real depth in an area, or it's expanding my breadth of knowledge across a number of areas. Both can be incredibly valuable. For example, if I become an expert in a field, I can easily pick up another area that I'm really interested in and create a depth of knowledge there by using the same skills and mindset that enabled me to create depth over here. Equally, if I'm the sort of person that can quite easily balance and juggle and maintain a lot of things in my brain at the same time, then expanding my breadth, expanding my breadth of knowledge can be a good tactic, because I can learn little bits and see how they supplement the other areas. So that sort of breadth of knowledge can be another way of upskilling myself. Whichever one you choose though, I would suggest something really important. Always follow your interests. The value of doing this is that you're going to be able to generate enough personal energy to get started, to keep moving and to sustain it over a long period of time. Whichever of those options that you choose, whether you want to go deep or whether you want to go wide, you're going to need some energy. So if it's in an area that you're interested, you will look for ways to make it fun. It will be fun just by virtue of the fact that you're learning new things, identifying new things, discovering new things. And these days, where they estimate that people just entering the workforce are going to have a minimum of 7 careers, it makes sense, doesn't it, to try and make as many of those careers areas that you really enjoy. So whatever it is, whether you're at the start of a career thinking about 7 different things that you might want to do, or maybe you're halfway through, instead of just looking at it as maybe being just one switch that's ahead of you, it might be 3 or 4 things that you're going to go and do. And if you're at the end of your career, there could still be 2, 3 or 4 options that you might want to consider. So the secret here when we're building our skills and upskilling ourselves is we get to have more of a say in what we're going to do next. We've got more choices, haven't we? We're not just going to be limited to whatever it is that we're doing today plus 10%. We're actually going to be able to say, well, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this, I can do this. And guess what? That could all come together neatly in the next job that I do. So having thought what upskilling is all about, let me just quickly explore some ideas with you as to how you're going to upskill. And here I think you've probably got about 6 or 7 different options. The first of those is, once you've finished watching this video, go and look for videos that are all about an interest of yours. But before you do that, make sure you hit that like button. That's what keeps the algorithm going. That's what enables this message to get out to a few more people. YouTube is fantastic. Every time I've got a subject that I'm interested in, I always start now with YouTube. I put in the keywords and it generates a whole host of videos for me to just get started in my understanding. Now, you can go down some great rabbit holes because the depth of knowledge on YouTube is also staggering, but there's a huge volume also. So it's a nice balancing game, but YouTube is a great source of beginner information, of something that just whets your appetite around a topic that you have a real interest. From there, you might want to go and find yourself a more in-depth course. And again, there's platforms like Udemy. There's platforms that you will be aware of in your industry and in your specialty. There'll be real experts available to you these days. In the old days, you had to go and look for someone and hope that they were doing a course somewhere near you. And typically the people doing courses weren't necessarily the absolute experts in their field. These days, you've got internationally famous authors like James Patterson producing courses on how to write. Equally, there are real experts out there, people who have been consulting and coaching and training and developing leaders across just about every industry you can imagine. They're now available online. So you can get access to their thinking, get access to the way they understand the topic that you're interested in, and gather real skills in a very short space of time. Another great route, of course, is if you're listening to this on a podcast right now, go off and find another podcast in an area that you like. This is a really fast growing area, and the volume of new podcasts out there, again, generated by real experts in their field, is amazing. So whatever platform you use, whether it's Spotify or Amazon or Apple, or there's a whole host of them out there. Go and find a podcast that you really like and start learning. Another favourite of mine, and it has been for a long time, is listening to experts in the car. I call it my mobile university. In fact, I remember in 2011 talking about it in my book called Mastering Time. And I said, look, this is wasted time otherwise. You can just be in the car. Maybe you haven't got mobile reception, so you can't necessarily have conversations with people, safely of course, but you've got a mobile university. So I personally use Audible. I get all of my favourite books downloaded there, and sometimes the author is speaking to me and sometimes they've got a real expert in to make it incredibly engaging, and I learn so many things by virtue of the mobile university. The next strategy for learning and acquiring some skills, upskilling yourself, is to network. So much easier these days. You've got sites like LinkedIn, you've got Facebook, you've got Twitter, you've got Instagram, you've got Snapchat, you've got TikTok. You know, it really doesn't matter where you like to hang out with people. You will find communities, you will find experts, you will find people that just love to share information and help. So join those networks, go and connect with people and tap into the world's biggest resource for upskilling. The next thing you can do is just practice. So if you've watched a video, you've listened to a podcast, or you've been on a course, practice, practice, practice. They say it's something like 10,000 hours to become a worldwide expert in something. So you're not going to need to do that much, but you will need to get some practice in so that you can develop your skills, because it's in the practice that we discover little things that maybe haven't been communicated in a course, or maybe we didn't anticipate and so didn't pay full attention when that expert was telling us what you needed to do. When we're actually practicing, we get a real feel for what the challenges are, which leads me to my last version of upskilling, which is actually to share your expertise. In sharing your expertise, you'll actually develop a much deeper understanding of this new skill that you've acquired. This is really effective when it comes to teaching something. So I know a number of people that teach skills, teach specific courses, teach specific school subjects, and all they do is keep one step ahead of the pupil that they're working with. Now obviously you're only going to need to do that the first time through. The second time through you'll know all the content, but don't feel that you have to be an absolute expert before you get started. As long as you've got a little bit more information and knowledge and understanding, you'll be able to make a start, and it will prove invaluable. In fact, some of the best teaching that we see inside organizations, inside teams, is when peers come together and they're literally half a step ahead of each other. It's like, oh, but I've discovered this. Really? Well, I've seen that. And so that sort of peer level education is really strong. And so even if you're a young person watching this and you're thinking, well, maybe I'm quite good at maths, maybe I could help some of my friends. In teaching them, in helping them, you will learn that subject so much more. So there you go, 7 methods by which you can acquire more skills, more knowledge, and indeed more experience of an area that you're interested in. Okay, so having gone through 7 ways that you can develop more skills, I'm going to share with you now 8 ways that you can actually develop some extra streams of income. And in the process, you're going to learn an awful lot. So the first stream of income I'm going to recommend is actually stocks and shares. Now, you may well have heard about this or thought it was only for people with lots of money, but that's no longer the case. You've got apps like Freetrade, and you've got these new challenger banks like Revolut that can help you to get going with as little as £1. Or if you're watching in America, $1, because their systems are based on the fact that you can invest just a small amount, a fraction of a share, to start developing your portfolio. Sounds great, doesn't it? Getting a portfolio off the ground. In the process of earning some money, creating some revenue for yourself with your stocks and shares, or there's 2 ways of doing it. You can generate revenue through dividends, or you can generate revenue through growth. There's another 3rd way as well. There's probably 6 ways you can generate money through stocks and shares, but they're just the 2 simple ones. The reason why I recommend it though is because you're going to learn a lot about finance. You're going to learn a lot about business, because you're going to need to understand the stocks and shares that you invest in. And you're also going to learn a little bit about technology to get yourself up and running on some of those really, really accessible mobile platforms. The second stream of income you could generate is to just sell stuff. You don't have to go really technical. You can literally list something on eBay. It could be something that you've got no use for anymore. Putting it up there is going to introduce you to another bunch of skills. A little bit of technology, a little bit of descriptive marketing skills, because you're going to want to differentiate it from everything else that's out there. You need to learn a little bit about your market. How well do these particular things sell? What sort of price should I generate it at? What sort of strategy am I going to put in place? Am I going to sell one of these? Or am I going to sell a group of them together? You're going to develop some sales skills, because some people are going to make you an offer and you're going to have to decide, do I want to sell it at that price, or do I want to stick to my original price at the risk of maybe not selling it at all? So there's some sales skills you're going to generate. You're going to generate some people skills, because you're going to interact with people. They're going to be queries, they're going to be ideas, they're going to be some thoughts, they're going to be some counter offers, they're going to be some really interesting things that you hadn't anticipated, even with the simplest listing on eBay. So a whole bunch of skills there. Just sell some stuff. The next one we've already talked about, which is teaching. And there's a lot of money to be made in teaching if money is your real driver. But it doesn't have to be. It could be just a secondary stream of income, or in our case, one of 8 streams of income. So pick a topic, pick something you're really interested in, something that you won't mind putting a bit of extra time into learning. So that's going to be some more skills under your belt. How to learn, how to research, how to communicate something so that people understand it and get it clearly. And then there's the administration that comes with teaching people something as well. You've got to book the times, you've got to set up the program, you've got to engage with them and invoice them depending on the systems that you use to generate the income. Which brings us very neatly onto the next one, which is you could start a small business. Every business started as a small business, but you could start one from your own kitchen table. So many empires have been built from a kitchen table. The fifth of our 8 streams of income to consider is investing in assets. Now, there are 2 types of assets that I want you to think about. One is going to generate cash flow, and that's why it becomes one of our multiple streams of income. So for example, you could rent properties, you could buy to rent, or you can invest in assets that are just going to grow in value. For example, you could buy original art. You can invest in these non-fungible tokens that are starting to emerge in the ether. And although they are growing in value, you may also explore and get more involved in these fixed assets, if you like, and start to trade them. And in that sense, it becomes another stream of income. The 6th stream is you could make things. If you're a very practical person and you like making things, why not start making things and then selling them? It's the same whether you want to make a bookshelf or you want to make a book that sits on the bookshelf. It's still coming from you and you're using your freely available resources, but you're using something that's not free, which is time. So whatever it is, make it fun, make it interesting, and invest your skills in something where you can generate 100% profit because you've spent nothing to get it up and running in the first place. The next stream of income you could explore is renting. We've already talked about renting property, but increasingly people are buying things that they want to rent out because there's demand for renting things rather than buying things. It could be cars, it could be technical equipment, it could be gardening equipment, whatever actually takes a fair bit of investment but people don't use very often is a great source of income generation when it comes to the rental market. So explore it, see if there are options out there for you because you already have some assets that you could start renting out. And the last income stream I want to suggest to you is services. What services could you provide for others? Now, there's a raft of opportunities on the internet these days. You can rent yourself out by the minute, by testing people's websites, by reviewing information, or you could rent your skills out by the hour. Or my favorite, you could rent yourself out on a value proposition. So how much is your input of value to the other person? So for example, there are sites like Fiverr where you can go on and most things you can buy for $5 or less. And that's people doing some marketing for you or doing some design work for you. You could provide one of those services, and invariably what happens is you connect with people, you deliver a great service at a very specific cost, and then you can start to negotiate with those people to generate a service offering. So I will provide your marketing services for you for a month at a rate of X. And all of a sudden you've got a second stream of income. So there you go, 8 streams of income to consider. But to get back to why this is useful, to generate any of those streams of income, you're going to need to develop your skills. You're going to need skills like understanding technology and being able to work with it, marketing skills, sales skills, developing some business nous. You're going to need to understand and get good at administration. And most of all, your people skills will develop over time as well, as you need to interact with others, whatever stream of income you choose to develop. All of which is also going to develop you as a person, so that the next time you are considering getting back into the job market or looking for a new job or a new career, you'll have a wealth of skills and knowledge and experience that you've been developing based on your interests. that means that the next steps you make in your career will be ones that you love. And how fantastic is that? Personally, I feel that we should all be balancing our own lives in our own way. And that's what today has really been all about. Getting that balance right. In developing these streams of income, we're only ever going to do something that we're interested in, and we're only ever going to put in enough energy to get the job done. And then any additional effort we put in, which might tip the balance in other areas of our life, will be based on a decision process in our head as to its real value. Okay, I hope that's been of real value to you today. If you've enjoyed it, please share it because it will resonate with others too. And I look forward to seeing you again next week. Take care.